There's never nothing to write about. There's so much to write about. And everybody's just singing and rejoicing, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. Art history and expression is not only for enjoyment, it's actually to challenge and to ask questions. South African music has influenced me hugely. It's, what I eat from. At home, before we even start to crawl, we are singing, So this is a big part of who I am and a very integral part of how I live my life. So it has come into the cello. The cello is simply a vessel, and it affects that vessel, and the message that's in it is a message from my ancestors that I share with the world. I would like to leave a memory of singing, If somebody says we went to Abel's concert, they need to hear a melody in their head that makes them want to sing. I think that's a very human and universal thing that I'd like people to be affected by. But also I would like, the audience here to experience a music that they can take to other places. So once you come here to listen to this, I need them to go out and seek more like this, you see, so that it doesn't end here. I think the influence goes to your home, to your kitchen. You're listening to something while you cook, and life takes a different direction when somebody introduces you to new music, and it should be like that. And I'm looking forward to that, and just making new friends, I'm here for that, Such a good vibe, Cologne. So I'm looking forward to it. Love at first sight, I wouldn't say that, no, because, in the township in South Africa, it's a very unusual instrument. I think I was more in love with the characters that played the cello. I was very lucky to run into the right teacher. And all of us know in the world, if you run into the right teacher, everything is possible. And I ran into the right person who I really admired, and that made me fall in love with the cello in time. I think the thing that drives me to create music that feels blended from other cultures is simply quite a natural habit, because I come from a real crazy pool of combinations of cultures. It's really important to be those things, So it's not delibereately fusing. It's actually understanding that my DNA is made of different things. I'm, a Bantu person. And if you look into the word Bantu, Bantu is a lot of people in Africa, different from all the way from South to West Africa. And if you start to relate and to ask questions who these people are that came before you, then many answers come. So my DNA is made of many things and not of one. I don't have a choice. When you are on stage, it's not about you. It's about. Again, this is why I say set the intention. When you set the intention, it becomes more about that, and you lose your ego, you lose your worries about how you'll be perceived, and often that's a very important part of the process before going on stage. And then enjoy playing with other people. Other people give you energy, and you have to look to take it. Inspirations for what I make, either composition or improvisation, is from how I am at the time, So there's another famous artist that used to say, if you're burned out, write about being burnt out. If you're sad, write about being sad. All of these things, I think there's so many human experiences that I'm experiencing like everybody else that I question, I ask myself all the time. And I sometimes rejoice and sometimes I despair. So all of these things are, things to write about. There's never nothing to write about. There's so much to write about. And then in terms of influences of improvisation and even composition is other people. Other people are so creative, and it's not theirs by themselves, you know. Everything is shared in the world, you know, and it's shared because you see it happen, and just because of that, it can enter you and it can create something else that's quite different from that. So I'm always looking at people, listening to people, and feeling like I can say to myself, you have so much to learn from anybody, you know, just listen. I remember playing at a club in London. This club is called Coco. Old club, Amy Winehouse used to play there. Really beautiful space. And it was the first time kind of taking this idea of the cello into a club scene, you know, where like I sometimes have to play standing so I can like get people to have the same energy as me. And those people brought energy back that I did not expect, you know, and we sang together. And for some reason, I was not responsible for the energy in the room anymore. And that's kind of amazing when the artist leads and then the audience takes it and then it becomes bigger than the artist and everybody's just singing and rejoicing. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. And we try and create that in many other instances, not recreate, but create it in different ways. But that's just one of them. I think there's, connecting with people. You have to set an intention for every project that you endeavor to do. It's quite important to be intentional about what you want to say. So sometimes it doesn't come from the sound, it comes from the concept. And after the concept, then you start to hear sound. So often, you know, for some projects, I would say I'm focusing on taking the sound of a certain type of African violin and trying to imitate that, and that would be the bedrock of my sound. And for other things, it would be collective thinking, you know, collective rhythm. What if everybody says cha at the same time? How does that sound? So then I start to create new music from, you know, that idea of collectivism. So it takes different ways to sound in different ways. Oh, many artists, yeah. A lot of African artists, you know, current and from before, you know, people like Miriam Makeba actually. Again, somebody who has a very distinct voice but can be a part of many worlds. That's a real talent. It might seem very seamless and you might not think about it when you see them do these different things. But there's a very distinct character that fits into these different worlds and can communicate across worlds. And I think that's something I look up to very much. And I think there's also, you know, a lot of unsung heroes, you know, people that we don't know, you know. And I often think folk musicians of different cultures, for me, hit home in a lot of ways, you know. That's the kind of music I listen to. And people who like to connect to the human spirit in concert, people like Bobby McFerrin, you know, you leave the concert thinking, yeah, I didn't go to a concert by myself. I went to a concert with a lot of people, you know, so that's very special. Yeah, so yeah, some few artists. It can't be passive anymore. I think we're past that. It's really important that art history and expression isn't passive. It's not only for enjoyment, it's actually to challenge and to ask questions. None of us can ignore it anymore. It's really obvious. So when we all create something, I urge all artists to take a stance, you know, to really say something. And I know it's difficult because people are, you know, somewhat afraid of speaking outwards, but I think there's many ways to do it, you know. I'm a South African. You can be a living example of freedom, a living example of how it became that people fought for my freedom, you know. The only way I'm here today is because of Nelson Mandela. The only way I'm here is because of Desmond Tutu, of Steve Biko. It's the only way I'm here. There's no other situation that I'd be here. So being aware that there's a cycle and that you can be a part of that cycle of letting other people know, and that other people can one day be here because of you. You know, I think that's super important. And nothing has to be famous. Everything has to be just a little bit of work, and it has to be shared.